is it? Just as I start filming, somebody turns up with parcels when I'm trying to get something done. Okay, we're back on the Samsung with the flickering backlights. Just in case you've not been with us. Hopefully you can see the backlights flickering. They're actually looking pretty static through here. But anyway, we do have a flickering backlight issue, as I'm sure you'll know if you've seen the first two videos. We've got a bit more time to play with this now. I've rushed through this a little bit because of so many other jobs coming in this week. But I wanted to do this one. I wanted to squeeze this one in because I thought it was an interesting, different sort of job. Because, first of all, I thought it was the backlights. Anyway, we've had multiple discussions on this. We're going to try T-Con. I don't think it is the T-Con. And I'll tell you why once I replace the T-Con. Well, I might as well tell you why while I unwrap the T-Con. I've had to buy this T-Con. Well, no, that's not true. I haven't had to buy this T-Con. I do a trade with a company now that gets a lot of my spare parts in return for free spare parts. Does that make sense? Yes. So I haven't had to pay for this. But if you watch all of the videos I do, about 3 or 4 videos ago we did a 32-inch Panasonic that was going into a 1-blink code. We tested the backlights. The backlights were absolutely fine. And it turned out to be the T-Con sending it into the 1-blink code. And the T-Con turned out to be the fault. On this occasion, we're thinking that the T-Con is doing the same. The way we diagnosed that T-Con in the Panasonic, if you remember, was by disconnecting the active dimming lead. And that allowed the backlights to operate for themselves rather than the T-Con taking control of the backlights, and the TV came back to normal. All sets have got active dimming. Some of it has got a separate cable which you disconnect yourself. Some of it, unfortunately, is automatically wired in and routed through the main board to the power board. Now, we've already changed the main board on this, and it's not changed a thing. So we then thought about the T-Con. But if you think about it, the active dimming, which I think you can disable in the menu, I'm not going to go faffing around through the menu, but rather than pulling the lead, I think you can disconnect it in the menu. But I think the problem we have here, the T-Con creates the active dimming. So if it's a dark picture, it dims the backlights. If it's a bright sunny picture, it lifts them up, etc. And it tells the main board to lift them up and down. But the main board hasn't got the circuitry. The main board hasn't got the dimming components to dim the backlights. It's got the command set up through the operating software, but the functionality to dim is through here. It's through the power board. Now, we know the backlights work fine when they're full on, because we can disconnect the main board and the backlights come up and everything's okay, no flickering at all. But it's when the dimming process, so the dimming circuitry, which is going to be around here. You know, it could be one of those resistors. Could be a cap, but I doubt it. Anyway, I tend to think that the dimming circuitry is not working correctly on the power board. And when it comes to the main board using the active dimming, which it is all the time, unless you disable it in the menu. Nobody ever disables it as far as I know. Anyway, that's just a little theory that I had with my boss. It was my boss Mike that suggested that. Mr. Bossman. And after reflecting on it for a day or two, it makes absolute sense. The backlights are working fine flat out. But if you want the backlights to respond to the active dimming, which you do, you don't have much of a choice. That's where the problem could be. So does that mean we may have to do another video for the power board? No. No, I've got we've got power boards for these. Did I fetch one down? Oh, don't say I've got to go up and fetch it. Did I forget? No, it's here. It's here, it's here, it's here. It's here. Anyway. So. I'm sorry, I'm leaving us in the dark. The other thing that's not coming over very well on the video, I noticed, is the racket that is being made by the power board. There is kind of an electronic short circuitry that is causing the lights to flicker. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2 of this video, it's well worth revisiting them. Even though we haven't solved the issue yet. Right. New T-Con in. Let's plug in. They were flickering then. And they're still flickering, as you can possibly see. I've got too many lights on in here. It's very bright. So possibly, and hopefully you can see, if I turn some of the lights away, it's amazing sometimes how bright these LEDs are. I don't know if you can see, but it's still flickering. You can tell quite easily with these three here that are flickering away. So, my boss, Mike Mitchell, a very wise young man who has worked on many of these and obviously remembered that quite a few Samsung power boards failed with a dimming issue. Hang on a minute. I must have just. I'm just thinking. Hang on a minute. The backlights aren't connected. But obviously, I must have just pulled the plug there ready, not realised, because there's no way the backlights would have lit up without that being plugged in. Unless this TV is magic. So that has got to be the best theory, don't you think? The theory with the active dimming. It's a very clever theory. It makes complete sense to me. But if you think about it, it has to be either that or we've got a screen issue, because and the reason why it stops when you disconnect the screen is because there's no active dimming when you disconnect the screen, because there's no screen. But that does not rule out the fact that it could be a faulty screen. I think this is the only video I've ever done where there's been a bit of a head scratch. You really need to think about what could be causing it. And we did think the power board straight away, but of course, Once we disconnected the power board, just let the backlights run, they were fine. So that let us believe that the power board is okay. Now that's not always the correct way to go about things, but it does help you, I would say, 80% of the time. And the backlights are now back on, perfect. The crackling noise has stopped. We possibly have some sort of picture. And we do, and the picture is perfect, even though you may notice one slight issue, which we've spoken about before. Actually, you can't see how perfect the picture is. My apologies. Hopefully now you can. But the picture is upside down. If you've been watching this, because look, there's the Samsung logo. So the TV is technically upside down, but we're looking at a picture which is fine. But that is because we've been messing around with the main boards. This is not the original main board. We shall go and put the original main board back in. So after all that, it was a power supply. Well done, Mike. Take the rest of the day off. It makes absolute sense. It was one of those hallelujah moments. I was thinking about it, not yesterday, the day before. I suddenly thought, of course, the active dimming. But never thought about it before. Because we were led to believe with the backlights coming on full that it was fine. So the flickering TV picture is a problem with the power board and on the dimming side. Now, if I'd got time, and I haven't got the time because I'm now doing all this by myself. Mike comes in from time to time. He's not been well lately, Mike, so get well soon, young man. You know, I would like to go through the power board and find out what is wrong, what could be failing, where's the resistor, is it a capacitor, is it a resistor, if we've got a problem, you know. And it's nice to spend a couple of hours, but I just haven't got time to waste on a couple of hours rather than there's the power board, bang, solved it. If ever you have an issue with a flickering picture, it does help. But maybe one day I'll get the chance to settle down and have a look. But meantime, I need to put the original main board back in so we get the picture the right way and get this back to the customer. So thank you for watching, and we'll do, I don't know what we're doing next. I think I'm coming back in later on tonight. It's Friday tea time at the moment. I like to come in to do something Friday night, and somebody's given me a 32-inch Vestel Toshiba smart TV that isn't a backlight issue. If it's a backlight issue, I wouldn't bother filming it because we're fed up to the back teeth with backlights. But he said it's just doing strange things. It is coming on, but then it's doing this. Could be a smash screen for all we know. But anyway, we'll play around with that later on tonight. Now to find the main board and swap these over. Thank you very much. See you in the next one.